Welcome. In this video, we're exploring how two personality types may interact in a romantic relationship through the lens of MBTI personality theory. We'll look at the strengths they might naturally bring out in each other, the challenges they may encounter, and the ways they can grow together. Keep in mind that MBTI describes personality preferences, not fixed rules, and it can't predict whether a relationship will succeed or fail. Every person is unique, and every relationship is shaped by far more than personality alone. Think of this as a tool for self-understanding and reflection, rather than absolute truth. With that in mind, let's get started. INTJs often approach life with a long-range perspective, naturally looking beyond the present to imagine how ideas, systems, and plans could evolve. Guided by introverted intuition, they enjoy identifying patterns and forming clear internal visions of the future. Their supporting extroverted thinking helps transform those ideas into structured plans and practical action. In relationships, they often value independence alongside genuine commitment, appreciating partners who enjoy thoughtful conversations and respect personal space. Rather than expressing emotions through constant reassurance, they may demonstrate care by solving problems, planning for the future, and investing in shared goals. While they can appear reserved, they often form deep attachments with people who appreciate their curiosity, loyalty, and thoughtful approach to building a meaningful life together. Romantic relationships between two INTJs often develop with a quiet sense of mutual recognition rather than dramatic sparks or grand displays of emotion. Both people tend to approach life with a long-term perspective, looking for meaning beneath the surface, and preferring depth over excitement for its own sake. Instead of trying to impress each other with charisma or constant conversation, they're more likely to appreciate someone who understands the value of independence, thoughtful discussion, and personal competence. Because both partners rely on the same cognitive functions, they often interpret the world through remarkably similar lenses. That similarity can create an unusual sense of being understood without needing lengthy explanations. At the same time, sharing the same strengths also means sharing many of the same blind spots. The qualities that draw two INTJs together can become the very areas they need to consciously balance as the relationship grows. As with any personality pairing, individual maturity, communication skills, values, and life experiences matter just as much as personality preferences. MBTI offers one way to understand recurring patterns, but it doesn't determine whether two people will build a successful relationship. Let's explore how two INTJs typically experience a relationship together. Part 1. First attraction. The attraction between two INTJs often begins with respect before it becomes romance. Neither partner is usually trying to be the center of attention, and both tend to value substance over appearances. They often notice qualities that other people overlook: intelligence, consistency, competence, curiosity, and someone who thinks independently instead of simply following social expectations. Conversations frequently become the first point of connection. Both enjoy exploring ideas, theories, future possibilities, and complex subjects that don't have simple answers. A discussion that lasts several hours may feel more exciting than a flashy date because it reveals how the other person thinks. Instead of feeling drained by analytical conversations, both partners often become energized by them. Their shared preference for introverted intuition also creates a sense of familiarity. Both naturally look for underlying patterns, long-term implications, and hidden meanings. They may discover that they arrive at similar conclusions through similar reasoning, creating an immediate sense that they're speaking the same language. Mutual respect for personal space can also feel refreshing. Neither partner usually expects constant texting, continual reassurance, or spending every waking hour together. They often appreciate having someone who understands that time alone isn't rejection, but simply how they recharge. However, this early stage isn't without misunderstandings. Since both people often keep emotions private, each may struggle to tell whether the other is genuinely interested. A relationship can progress surprisingly slowly because neither person wants to make assumptions or risk appearing emotionally impulsive. What one partner experiences as respectful patience, the other might interpret as uncertainty. Both also tend to evaluate potential partners carefully before becoming emotionally invested. Instead of rushing into romance, they often spend time observing character, consistency, and long-term compatibility. This cautious approach can create stable foundations, but it can also make the relationship feel ambiguous during its earliest stages. Another early challenge comes from communication style. Two INTJs may spend hours discussing fascinating ideas while revealing very little about their actual feelings. They can know each other's opinions on philosophy, technology, career ambitions, or future plans long before either openly admits they're emotionally attached. Ironically, both may be waiting for the other person to become vulnerable first. Part 2. Strengths together. Once trust develops, two INTJs often discover that they make an exceptionally coordinated team. Because they process information similarly, they frequently reach compatible conclusions without lengthy negotiations. Their shared preference for planning creates a relationship that often feels intentional rather than reactive. Long-term goals become a major strength. Whether planning finances, careers, travel, education, or family decisions, both partners usually enjoy thinking years ahead. Instead of seeing planning as restrictive, they often experience it as reassuring. They appreciate having shared direction and may naturally divide responsibilities according to individual strengths without needing extensive discussion. Communication tends to be clear, direct, and solution-focused. Neither partner usually enjoys passive aggression or unnecessary drama. When problems arise, both often prefer identifying the issue, analyzing possible solutions, and moving forward. This can make everyday conflicts feel more manageable than they might in relationships where emotional escalation becomes the primary obstacle. Their shared use of extroverted thinking reinforces this practical approach. Both generally appreciate organization, efficiency, and competence. Household responsibilities, financial planning, scheduling, and major life decisions often receive thoughtful consideration instead of being handled impulsively. Daily life may become remarkably stable because both value predictability in many areas. Routines often develop naturally, allowing each partner to pursue personal interests while maintaining a reliable partnership. Emotionally, the relationship may appear reserved from the outside, but that doesn't necessarily mean affection is absent. Two INTJs often express care through actions more than words. They may solve problems, remember important details, support each other's ambitions, or quietly make life easier for their partner. Those practical expressions of love often carry significant emotional meaning for both individuals. Personal growth also benefits from their similarities. Because both enjoy learning, they often encourage each other's intellectual development. Conversations rarely run out of material because both continue exploring new ideas, skills, and perspectives throughout life. They may become each other's favorite discussion partner, constantly refining opinions through thoughtful debate rather than competition. There's also a strong sense of mutual respect for independence. Neither partner usually feels threatened by the other's need for solitude, career ambitions, or personal hobbies. Instead of expecting complete emotional merging, both often see maintaining individual identities as healthy. That balance between closeness and autonomy can create a relationship where each person feels trusted rather than controlled. Perhaps most importantly, two INTJs often develop confidence in each other's reliability. Promises tend to carry weight. Decisions are usually made deliberately. Over time, this consistency can create a deep sense of security that doesn't rely on frequent reassurance but on demonstrated dependability. Part 3. Biggest challenges. The greatest difficulties usually emerge not because the partners think differently, but because they think too similarly. Since both rely heavily on introverted intuition and extroverted thinking, the relationship can become highly intellectual, while emotional needs remain largely unspoken. Each partner may assume that if something is important emotionally, the other person will simply bring it up directly. Unfortunately, both may be making that same assumption. As a result, disappointments can quietly accumulate beneath an otherwise calm surface. Neither partner necessarily intends to hide emotions, but both may struggle to recognize them quickly or feel comfortable expressing them before they've fully processed them internally. Their shared preference for introverted feeling contributes to this pattern. Personal values and emotions often run deep, yet they're usually kept private until significant trust has developed. When conflict does occur, both partners may become surprisingly sensitive internally while appearing outwardly composed. This creates an unusual mismatch. Externally, conversations may remain calm and logical. Internally, both individuals may be carrying hurt feelings that never become part of the discussion. Another challenge comes from confidence in their own conclusions. Introverted intuition often produces strong convictions after careful internal analysis. Since both partners trust their own reasoning, disagreements may become difficult to resolve because each person genuinely believes they've already considered every relevant angle. Neither is necessarily being stubborn for its own sake. Both simply have great confidence in conclusions reached through extensive reflection. Because both also value competence, criticism can become complicated. Feedback intended as practical improvement may accidentally feel more personal than either partner realizes. Since emotions aren't always discussed openly, hurt feelings may appear later as emotional distance rather than immediate disagreement. The relationship can also become overly focused on productivity. Two highly future oriented planners may spend so much time improving their lives that they unintentionally neglect simply enjoying the present together. Conversations become planning sessions, weekends become optimization projects, vacations become carefully managed itineraries. Without noticing, efficiency begins replacing spontaneity. Another blind spot involves social balance. Since both often enjoy relatively quiet lifestyles, they may gradually narrow their social circles more than intended. While this isn't inherently negative, maintaining outside friendships and varied experiences can prevent the relationship from becoming isolated or overly routine. Stress can amplify many of these patterns. Under prolonged pressure, both partners may become more controlling, more withdrawn, or more focused on solving practical problems while overlooking emotional ones. Since both cope similarly, they may unintentionally reinforce each other's tendency to retreat inward instead of addressing underlying feelings together. Part 4. Making it work. A successful INTJ-INTJ relationship often grows through expanding each partner's emotional communication rather than changing who they fundamentally are. Because both naturally communicate through logic, making feelings more visible becomes an important area of growth. That doesn't require becoming dramatically expressive. Often, simply stating emotions before they become frustrations can prevent misunderstandings from quietly accumulating. Both partners also benefit from recognizing that understanding someone's reasoning isn't always the same as understanding their emotional experience. Sometimes a partner wants thoughtful analysis. Other times, they simply want to feel heard before solutions are explored. Learning to ask which response is needed can strengthen communication considerably. Flexibility also becomes valuable. Since both enjoy planning, intentionally leaving room for spontaneity can keep the relationship feeling alive. Not every decision needs exhaustive analysis, and not every moment needs to contribute toward a future objective. Making space for simple enjoyment helps balance the partnership's naturally strategic mindset. Maintaining separate interests is equally important. Fortunately, this pairing often supports independence naturally. Continuing individual hobbies, friendships, and personal goals gives each partner fresh experiences to bring back into the relationship while preventing either person from expecting their partner to fulfill every emotional and intellectual need. The relationship tends to thrive in environments where both partners can pursue meaningful goals together while respecting each other's autonomy. Shared projects, long term planning, intellectual conversations, and mutual trust often become lasting foundations. It may struggle more when external stress becomes chronic, when emotions remain consistently unspoken, or when both partners become so focused on solving problems that they forget to nurture emotional connection itself. Neither person necessarily needs to become someone they're not. Instead, the greatest growth often comes from broadening existing strengths. Their natural thoughtfulness can extend into emotional awareness. Their planning abilities can include intentional time for connection. Their independence can coexist with greater openness about vulnerability. In conclusion, an INTJ and INTJ relationship often reflects the strengths and challenges of two people who approach life with remarkably similar priorities. Shared vision, mutual respect, thoughtful communication, and long-term planning can create a partnership built on stability and trust. At the same time, those same similarities can leave emotional needs understated, making openness and intentional communication especially important. Like every MBTI pairing, this relationship isn't defined solely by personality type. Individual maturity, shared values, communication habits, and life experiences ultimately shape whether these natural tendencies become strengths or obstacles. When both partners appreciate their similarities while remaining willing to grow beyond their shared blind spots, an INTJ-INTJ relationship can become one where quiet understanding develops into lasting partnership.